Welcome to Getting to Know You, residents and staff. I'm Ingrid Reed, I'm the host, and at the beginning of the program, I'm going to say that Jan15 is our videographer, and Jan15, president of the Residents Association, is the executive producer. That's what I'm calling him. But I'm very pleased today to welcome Joyce Tiemens, who recently joined the clinic's roster of medical professionals who are available to us here as residents of Stonebridge. So Joyce, welcome. You're sitting right next to me here.
Yeah.
You're part of the good news of the new year. And we're sort of considering January, the whole month of January, to be able to say Happy New Year. So thank you for joining us today. Professionally, you have 4 letters behind your name, LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker.
Yes, I do.
But we've talked informally, and I learned that you are a neighbor, that you have an interesting background in issues that are important to New Jersey, and that in fact we're famous for them, and you made a career change that resulted in your current work. So maybe in the spirit of getting to know you, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'd like to pick up a line in your brief biography that I was privileged to read, and that is that you received 2 master's degrees from Rutgers, one in anthropology and one in social work.
Right.
So could you just tell us a little bit about that as we get to know you?
Sure. I started my career, actually I graduated from Fairleigh Dickinson University with a degree in social work and applied social research. I spent my early part of my career working at an urban community center. I worked with families and children, with older adults. I ran groups for persons with Parkinson's disease and those who were blind and visually impaired. For fun, I was hiking and going to the Jersey Shore. And so I took a summer job in a youth works program where we cleared trails in Palisades Interstate Park. After working both in environmental issues and social issues, I decided to integrate those two. No problem. It's life, right? I integrated my social and environmental interests into going to graduate school, and I decided that I would take courses in anthropology. While I was at Rutgers, I was teaching out of the human ecology department, and I was also conducting research on coastal development and commercial fisheries from Brereton Bay all the way down to the Delaware. So I was combining the two, but then I took a break, came home, raised a daughter, and was taking care of older adults who were my friends and family. And I came to appreciate how important mental health is in all stages, developmental stages of life. So I decided to go back to graduate school and study clinical social work with a specialization in geriatrics. And so since then, I've been working for 15 years specialized.
Right, well, we can talk a little bit more about that, but before we switch entirely, are you keeping up your interest in those coastal issues as they become more important with climate change?
I'm keeping up with them. Unfortunately, I don't get out to the shore as much as I would love to. But yes, absolutely, that it remains a love and something that I spend additional time doing with environmental
When we talked, we said New Jersey was really far behind in protecting its coast, and that we want to protect wetlands and so on. So that's part of our message today. And the other thing is that you live near or in the little town of Millstone, or in that direction?
I live in that direction, so coming here is 10 minutes along River Road. So I live in, technically it's Hillsborough, just over the line, but very close to the Millstone. And I spend a great deal of time on the towpath, the canal along the river.
We are so lucky to be so close to that.
Absolutely.
I think there's a group from here that does go for walks on the towpath.
Okay.
Yes, that's part of mental health and physical health.
It's very important for mental health to try to keep as active as possible. With respect, we have all these restrictions right now because of the pandemic. Whatever way we're able to keep exposed to the natural environment is very important.
We're very lucky here at Stonebridge to be surrounded with accessible paths for really anyone. If haven't done it, we'll take you on a tour sometime.
I would love to.
Because it's really amazing. So let's go to what you were transitioning to in terms of the work that took you to another level of education, and then sort of specialty. And if you meet somebody and they say, what do you do? And you say, well, and you have like 5 words or 5 seconds to say something, it's really focusing on geriatric care. Would you say that's the...
I would say yes. I'm a clinical social worker with a specialty in geriatric care.
Now, if you have a longer time to describe that,
Okay.
what are some of the particular issues that you both study and then focus on if you say geriatric care is your specialty?
Well, we look at, when we're working with psychology, we look at human beings, which is the anthropological part of me, as cultural, spiritual, but we're also in different developmental life stages. And so we'd have different tasks at different stages and challenges that we go through. As we get older, we find one of the main challenges is life transitions and losses. We just are experiencing them. We may be retiring. We may be downsizing children. If we've had families, maybe moving away from the home. We may have animals, pets that we've had for a long period. So we just, it's a natural part of the life process. We also do find that there's a lot more self-reflection. As is coming to somewhere like Stonebridge, where perhaps your basic needs are being that you're spending more time inward and just questioning things about meaning and life and trying to improve quality of life, and making changes, developing interests perhaps you had as a younger person that you hadn't before. The other piece I'd like to add that's very important is with respect to the fact that our physical being is not as able to do some of the things we used to do. And there's a lot of emotional, upset, anxiety, frustration, anger, adjustment that's involved with not having hearing as well, or sight, vision, mobility, just not being able to get around as much, not being able to drive. So there are also just different levels of, in a sense, adjustment that we need to make. And that's the way I see them, is building. I work with a very strengths-based approach, focusing on what is going well, and building and developing new parts of our life that can bring us rewarding experiences.
Now, you have some time already at Stonebridge and have gotten to know us a little bit.
Yes.
What is the role of community in staying engaged? Is that something that is part of what you talk about and how you can do that, or you were talking about adjusting to loss and so on? Then you have to think about, well, what can you do about that? And I think coming to Stonebridge implies that community is part of what you will be gaining. And of course, that's been hard to do during the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you think we're finding some substitutes for getting together, or as you talk with people, how can we fill in that gap of being part of a community, or can't we? Is that a loss that we're suffering?
I think that's tricky, right? I mean, inherently, if we're having to stay in our rooms or apartments, or if we have had contact with the outside and now we're quarantined for a few weeks, there are those physical restrictions. What's become so important and also so difficult for a lot of people is making the adjustments to video, to Zoom, to Skype, to FaceTime, where we are having to spend a lot more time. But the importance of doing that, as opposed to spending extra time, for example, in front of the television. I mean, we know that right now, just in terms of stressors, we might be going through personal life stressors, experiencing an illness, but then to be turning on the television and watching feeds where there's social and political upheaval, and then being told to socially isolate has been very difficult. So I have found, being at Stonebridge, the number of bulletins that come through, the chit chats, the bulletins, the updates have been very important. Again, using Zoom, FaceTime, using any type of technology, but also the phone. If you're not comfortable with it, just the phone calls. Part of what happens is, you know, we get isolated, we might lose motivation to want to be as involved with doing things we used to do. So when someone calls on the phone, we don't answer, I'm not feeling like it. How important, how essential it is to reach for the phone and make that call, or to answer that phone when those calls come through.
I can understand that. I found that I'm more interested in looking at my my voicemail to see if I got a call while I was away, and I'm disappointed if the light isn't lit up.
Okay, yeah.
And so, can you tell us what else from your profession is geriatric care now a recognized field that you feel is more important than you even started, or or do we need to pay more attention to that from your perspective of what young people might be going into, for example? Do you see younger people choosing geriatric care? I read that doctors, you know, are not choosing to go into medicine that's related to geriatric care. And so I was just wondering what you're seeing in your field.
I guess I'm biased because I'm in the field of social work, that, you know, and I've been surrounded by a group of others who focus specifically on geriatrics. But from my experience in healthcare and the medical field and I was doing this for 10 years, often issues would be kind of dropped on the social workers because some of the doctors and some of the others have not been addressing things such as chronic or terminal illness, what the impact is that this has on family members and on the larger. So I would definitely say it's very, very important to continue for us to promote, both as social workers and in the medical community, the importance of specializing in geriatrics as its own field.
Right, and diet and exercise.
Right, all of those types of balanced activities, which we are addressed during a counseling session.
Right. Well, we're pleased to have you part of a team here at Stonebridge, and of course people still know Chaplain Jenny very well and know that she's available for people for spiritual counseling and visits, and I'm sure that you know her and have talked with her, and that people here at Stonebridge know that to contact you, they go through the clinic, that this is a program that Dawn has supported, and was very pleased that you have joined the team. And that's the way to get to you, right?
Absolutely.
So we're glad that you've already gotten to know us here at Stonebridge. And so as we look ahead to the new year, we hope more and more people will be able to meet you, and that you will find some other ways to stay in touch with you. But for now, we're so really pleased that you've joined the team and are already bringing so much good care to people here, and that you enjoy it, being a part of us.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much.
And as we end this program today and mention the clinic, I think if we had a larger team here, we could all cheer and clap, but for now, I learned from Dawn that the first session of the vaccination program has been completely signed up, and that I think, looking at Jeff, that we're at 100% participation, and I think that is really amazing. So thank you to everyone out there following the directions, and for those like me who have to wait until February, we know we'll get there, and we know there'll be a lot of people joining us, and that's really important. So thank you again for joining us today, Joyce, and we look forward to seeing you here at Stonebridge. And stay tuned, we have one more session in January, which is the New Year month, and we hope we will have a good time when we see you next week and getting to know you. Thank you.